welcome back to another episode of the Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today, on this day, I have the pleasure, the true pleasure of sitting down with a gentleman by the name of William Wright. He's a personal development coach, founder of CoreRemastered. I'm looking forward to spending some time with him today. I always love to sit down with people who empower people to live their best lives, be the best version of themselves. So I am really looking forward to our time today. But first and foremost, as I always do, sir, I take a quick moment to pause and say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we cannot get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time to talk to little old me. And with that, sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very honored and grateful to be here today.
Awesome. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So let me just jump right in because we have just a little bit of time together. As I always do in preparation for these interviews, I kind of roam around websites and social media doing that nosy female thing. And so one of the things that I first saw on your website is that you went from teacher to preacher to trainer and coach. So can you give us the
Mhm.
kind of the quick version of how you got from one place to the other? Because that's a vast difference there.
Well, I grew up in the church, and you know, my relationship with the church has always been a very interesting topic. When I was younger, I did suffer from a lot of, I didn't know at the time, like a lot of emotional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the church, and I'm telling this in no particular order, and the church served a great purpose for a long time. But I needed some answers, and the answers that I needed, I wasn't getting through the church, you know, no matter how much I embraced the faith or prayed or read my Bible, it just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't getting the answers that I needed or wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't until I started going to therapy and then coaching that I began to find those answers.
Mm-hmm.
But before I was, heavily in the church, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in my life. And so I had got like a summer youth job working as a camp counselor, and I was like, "Oh, I can do this. I can work with kids." So that led me to go to the what was this? It was like a summer youth program kind of thing where you would. I was already a high school graduate, but it was a program that you could do to kind of figure out what did you want to be and do in life. And when they were doing job placement, I requested to be put in a daycare center. And so the first place I worked at was a daycare on the Upper West Side called Basic Trust. And then from there, I started working in a Montessori school. And I really, really enjoyed working with the children. And I wasn't fulfilled really, because I did grow up in the church. And so I felt like I was supposed to really embrace God and the church. So that's what led me to leave the preschool and try to start my own ministry. Right. I thought if I started my own ministry, then I would get the answers that I was looking for,
Mm-hmm.
finding my own path and my own way. And so I attempted to start a non-for-profit ministry called Water, which was wisdom, ambition, truth, enrichment, and righteousness. That did serve me for a while, but once again, I still wasn't getting the answers I needed. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's when I started doing a lot more work in the mental health space. And that led me to say, maybe I'm gonna think about the things people aren't doing. And so I went into like mind, body, and spirit, which led me to become a certified personal trainer. Because I felt like if people felt better about themselves, then maybe they wouldn't need this outer, you know, belief, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Gotcha.
I needed to figure out a way. I wanted to find a way to empower more people. So that led me to become a personal trainer. And so I pretty much left the preschool and started doing personal training. And I did that for a while. And, while being a trainer, a lot of people would always say to me, you're so much more than a personal trainer. The way you hold space for people, the way you talk to people, the way you help people, you should really become a life coach. And I was like, what is a life coach? Right. And at this time, my relationship with the church was still kind of, it just wasn't there.
Gotcha.
Right. And so, but a lot of the values that I learned from the church, I bring into my training, you know, being kind to people, learning to listen to people. I just had that kind of spirit, that kind of heart.
Mhm.
And so that led people to believe that, oh, you're so much more than a, personal trainer. And so when people were like, you should become a life coach, I was like, what is a life coach? What does a life coach do?
Mhm.
I'd already been in cognitive behavior therapy. And so when I did a little bit of research about life coaching, I was like, I was just fake. It's just fake therapy, just fake
Oh.
therapy. I don't need it. And in 2020, when the pandemic hit and, we all had a little more extra time to think about stuff, a close friend of mine, she had encouraged me to take this like weekend workshop kind of thing with IPEC, with his the Institute for Excellence in coaching and professional excellence in coaching. And I did that weekend workshop and I was sold. I was like, wait, this is so much more than what I thought it was,
Okay.
right? Than what a life coach could be or what coaching is. Because I hadn't really never known many coaches, right? My friend who encouraged me to do it was a coach, but I
Mhm.
don't think I really paid attention to exactly what she did at the time.
Mhm.
When she, encouraged me to take this program, I'm very grateful that I did because the program helped me see three things. One, all the things that I was doing absolutely right in terms of holding space for my clients and
Mhm.
supporting them in a very encouraging way. Two, um, all the things I was missing, the opportunities. And lastly, all the things I was doing absolutely wrong, right? Because I was still searching for something within myself, a
Mm.
certain level of validation, still battling a lot of my own mental health things. And being a product of my product, the coaching program helped me realize is that I was living vicariously through my clients. I was tied to the outcome. I would get so frustrated and mad if they weren't achieving their goals because I was attached and tied to the outcome.
Mhm.
And going to coaching school and becoming certified, it made me realize that I was in the box with them too much, too tied to the outcome, too connected in a way that said their failure was means that I failed. And
Mhm.
also their success was my success. I was deeply needed validation through them because I couldn't find it within myself.
Mhm.
And going to school and actually becoming a certified coach helped me detach from those outcomes. And I'm extremely passionate about what I do and have found my true passion and calling. And so I officially finished my certification in 2021. I was able to knock it out in less than a year because I was so passionate about it. And since then, the main focus of me as a personal development coach has been in the coaching space.
Awesome. Beautiful. Beautiful. And you mentioned something there. A lot of times, especially when it comes to mental health, not necessarily coaching, you hear about this term transference, where the patient or the client tends to get so vested in the provider, but to have you hear your other side where you switched and you were so invested in their success because it validated you. That's something that I think we probably need to address and talk about more. So I like that.
Mm-hmm,
But one thing I want to ask you is iPad coaching.
mm-hmm,
That particular system has been around for quite some time.
mm-hmm.
What is your perspective on why it's so unique and why it's so different than other coaching programs?
You know, honestly, I can't speak for other coaching programs, right? I have never taken other coaching programs.
Okay.
And so I can only speak. So, what's interesting is people often ask me, what is a coach? What does a coach do? I hear these questions all the time. And my consistent answer is always from a place of my experience and my education.
Yeah.
So I say, as a coach, this is how I coach. This is how I show up. This is my education. This is my experience.
Mhm.
I will never be someone, even though I know how highly regarded and recognized the program I went to is. Some say it's the Harvard of coaching school, right? It's
Mhm.
like the top tiers. It's on all lists. It's like, oh, IPEC is the top dog. I would never begin to say that if you don't go to IPEC, then you can't be a good coach.
Mhm.
And that program is the only good program. I would never say that because I haven't done other programs.
Okay.
I'm grateful for what I learned and how this program resonated with me and the success in using it that I've had since I've taken a deeper focus into the coaching field. And so it was that it was that, like I said, that weekend workshop that essentially just resonated with me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I can't really speak to how good or bad other programs are. I just know that the one I went through was fantastic. I love everything I've learned, and I'm grateful for it.
Awesome. And you mentioned that you had some tools already that you were bringing to the space. And I want to let everybody know that prior to taping this, you do come from an environment where you grew up with all sisters and all females. So I think that probably added the listening, the ability to listen quality to you as well. Do you think?
Um, Absolutely. And I do have a little brother. He just didn't grow up with me.
Okay.
We was a split home, but
Mm-hmm.
between, my whole family, I want to recognize him. I'm
Awesome.
the
Okay.
favorite, but he still exists. He's the baby. And we're close. We're close, but
We'll play this for him later.
I don't want to, I know you said all sisters. I was like, I do have a brother
I
and we're
have a brother.
close.
Huh?
He's the
Okay.
baby, but I didn't grow up with him. I
Okay.
kind of met him when I was around like seven.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, a little older, in my 20s. He and I
Mm-hmm.
became close and I met him. Um, but I believe your question was it the
In the
experience that I
female,
grew up in
in the
and things
female
like that around
space.
females? Um, that's a good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me if I can't say that being around or with females had anything to do with my ability to listen, but it definitely gave me the ability to know how to treat women and talk to women.
Mm,
And so maybe there is a direct correlation to that level of compassion and kindness.
okay.
Because in every environment I've always worked in, I've always been like when I worked at the Basic Trust, the Montessori Basic Trust and the Montessori school, it was really well at Basic Trust there was two other guys that worked there. But when I got to the Montessori school, it was just me.
Yeah.
And so I've often worked in and around nothing but females.
Mm-hmm.
And so and individuals who have, identified as females at the time. And so I've always been comfortable in those environments and I've always been accepted in those environments. And I've never felt like the only guy in the room.
Okay.
So maybe that has something to do with growing up in a house full of females.
That's your safe.
And I just never put that together
Your
because no one's
comfortable
ever asked me,
space.
like,
Your comfortable
do you know
space.
how to listen because of all your sisters and cousins? Maybe. Or maybe I learned to listen because I was too afraid to speak up.
Well, we're glad you speak up now. We're
Maybe
glad
I
you
was
speak.
outnumbered, so I had to learn how to listen by default. Because I definitely felt outnumbered at times. Like, yeah, okay, I'm good. Because I mean, yeah. So you just got me laughing because I'm thinking about that. Like, hmm, okay, I like maybe there might be
You
some
were
truth to that.
overrun by the females. So yeah, I'm pretty sure, and sometimes it takes us a while to unpack some life lessons that we
Hmm.
learn, but I am pretty sure there's a whole bunch that goes into that dynamic of being around a bunch of us day after day.
Hmm.
So but they did well, let me switch here because I can talk for a lot here. But I
Hmm.
want to ask you about as a personal development coach,
Hmm.
when clients come to you, it's a collaborative teamwork partnership, right? And I think sometimes clients can come to a coaching setting, you know, just believing that they're going to dump everything on the coach and that coach is going to fix it. What should a client really expect when it comes to doing the work so that they can walk away with a very impactful and powerful result in a coaching environment?
Well, first I want to start by saying is we, during what I would call a discovery session or conversation, I already make it known right away that one, I'm not tied to an outcome. They're in a safe place,
Okay.
they're in a non-judgmental place, and they're in an extremely confidential place. I often tell them, I said, whatever we talk about, I won't share with anyone, but you can share it with whomever you want.
Okay.
Then from there, I let them know that this is an environment to unpack and talk about whatever they want.
Mm.
I don't give advice. and I don't diagnose. But what I will do is create an environment that's safe for them to talk about, do a deep dive about anything they want. And then I can facilitate the opportunity for them to arrive to whatever goal or outcome they desire.
Mm-hmm.
But it all starts with the buy-in. If you don't have the buy-in,
Mm-hmm.
then there is no coaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't lead people or drag someone to talk about or do anything they don't want to do, right? Some people come already with things they want to talk about because maybe they've been referred to me, came across my website, heard me on a podcast, and they're like, there's something you said or something I read or my friend told me, and we can unpack it.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's no buy-in, there's no coaching. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that's just based on my training and my education.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we have the buy-in, there are no limits to what we talk about. But I will never tell people what they should or shouldn't talk about.
Awesome. What do you find are some motivators that a person says, you know what, I think I need to find somebody? Like you said, people find you through a variety of ways. What are some reasons people will say to themselves, I think I need to kind of go connect with somebody for this?
Sometimes they'll tell you, and sometimes I never ask.
Mm.
So it can be a variety of things.
Mm-hmm.
But because I can take a second and think about what happens consistently is a lot of people come with curiosity, and maybe there's a trust factor because it's me and my reputation or something like that. So this,
Mm-hmm.
let me try this coaching stuff. I'm curious what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, so let's explore your curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say for the most part of my experience, it has been curiosity, especially because I find a lot of people are curious because there's not a lot of people that I know that look like me that do this in the
Mm-hmm.
emotional support space, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's also intriguing to people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's people who have known me in the fitness space for a long time, and they're like, I'm curious, let me see what this coaching stuff's about. So yeah, that would be to answer your question. I'd say that the greatest thing that has bring um clients to me is curiosity.
Curiosity. Okay. And you said client people don't tend to see people that look like you. Are you seeing more men being open to coaching, or is it still basically a female dominated kind of?
I mean, in the beginning, I got a lot of white males. I didn't get a lot of, and I believe it's okay to say this, I didn't get a lot of straight heterosexual males.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I was always curious to know why, but then I really wasn't surprised because I
Mm-hmm.
know what the stigma is about, mental health and stuff within the BIPOC community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was a little discouraging in the beginning. It's like, why aren't my people, coming to me? Why aren't my people curious?
Gotcha.
Especially because I saw myself, in them. Like you can, this is a safe place. You can talk about stuff. You don't have to just try to pray it away. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to hope that, God's going to take away any kind of pain or things like that. Like it's okay to have tools. It's okay to talk to somebody. It's okay to be vulnerable. And there was a minute where it frustrated me and caused a lot of resentment in me, where I did spend a portion early on in my coaching kind of saying, like, you know, why aren't you coming to me? And almost forgot what my training taught me, where I started getting in the box where I look at people like, your life's a mess, but
Mm-hmm.
not so direct like that, but really, feeling like I can help you. Don't be afraid to talk about mental health. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Why? But in the beginning, I wasn't getting a lot of, heterosexual black men. Then there was a time I was only getting predominantly black females. I was like, I guess that's on brand. I've always been, and after thinking about the question you asked me earlier, I was like, I guess that is a safe. I do as a male, I've been able to create a safe place where females felt comfortable enough talking to me and trust me.
Awesome.
Now I have a good
Good mix.
diversity, a good mixed bag. I'm seeing a lot more, heterosexual black men coming to me and are willing to open up and talk to me about things because I told them there's no conversation too small. You don't, I'm not your therapist, right? You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
come to me with all of these, deep, dark, traumatic experiences, things like that. I had someone you know, they just knew that they had a presentation the next day and they just were very nervous and they just needed, they needed to talk it out. What is
Okay.
that fear coming from? And we're able to tap into a little bit of that imposter syndrome, and
Mm-hmm.
because we're gifted storytellers. And what I tell people is what I do for my clients is I create an opportunity to understand your process, understand how you show up in various aspects of your life, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of how you're showing up. How are you seeing the world? Because how you see yourself is how you see the world. And how self-aware are you or emotionally intelligent about how you're showing up and performing in the world? And once you have that level of awareness and emotional intelligence, that gives you the greatest opportunity to create the outcome you desire. So it doesn't have to be about, my mother used to beat me, or, if you're a man and you're showing vulnerability, then you're sus and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's a conversation within itself,
Mm-hmm.
the story that's attached to that. And so there was a minute, there was a time where I felt like I was being rejected by the BIPOC community. But that was also the story I was telling myself because I realized I was trying to save people. And my job isn't to save people. So I had to remember what my education from the IPAC program taught me. You don't get inside the box. You don't get tied to an outcome. Be available for the people who want you. My job isn't to convince people why they should want me,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
And
So
then,
yeah.
also, it's something that we are still unpacking in the Black community. This being receptive to any kind of mental, emotional well-being and health. So um, we're just now starting to get more on board than we were decades ago. So
Yeah.
have some patience with us. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Well, it was my own thing, right? That was
Mhm.
that was because again, I thought I wanted to, I thought it was my responsibility to save people. And that's
Had your
still
cape
part
on
of
and everything, right?
that, yeah, that was still part of where I had to like, unpack my own stuff and be like,
Yeah.
that's not my job or my responsibility to save anything or anybody.
Hmm.
I'm here for those who want and see the value in what I can do to be a part of that support system. I'm helping people get to where they want to go. My job isn't to tell people where they should be.
Mm.
And once I let go of that, it made it a lot easier for me to do what I do without having so much compassion fatigue or resentment or frustration. But it took me a while to get there because it was a part of my own gremlin message, that I had to somehow be validated, or
Mm.
I was trying to save people from a place of my own struggles.
Mhm.
And everybody has their own struggles and it's unique to them. And just because I was dealing with, certain levels of resentment and anger and frustration, it doesn't mean it's my job to, you know, tell people what they should or shouldn't be working through,
Mhm.
you know. So I had to change how I was showing up for my clients, but also how I was showing up and how I was presenting myself as a coach. And when I did that, you know, things started to flow a little easier for me.
Coach had to coach himself before he started coaching others, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was my coach and my therapist that said, you know, what's the story you telling yourself? And I was like, ooh, right back at you. Touche.
Touche. Well, I want to ask you about one of these aspects, if I could trouble you to break it down, because one of
Mhm.
your certifications is Energy Leadership Index Master Practitioner. I saw that. And
Okay.
I saw that it helps develop several self-awareness using 7 levels of energy, right? I was
Hmm.
wondering if I could trouble you to just pick one and kind of unpack that for us, what that
Just pick
is.
one.
I mean, you can do more if you like, but
Well, how about this? I'll go through the seven real quick,
okay.
and you decide which one you want me to unpack.
Okay.
Okay, so
A man
there's
who gives
seven
me
levels.
options.
There's
Okay.
seven levels of energy, right? And level one is associated with conflict energy, right? It's the understanding that the power to control something is out of the individual's hand. And so to sum it up quickly, level one is I lose because I don't have control. Level two is you lose, I win. Level three is I win if you win two energy. Level four is you win. How can I serve you? How can I help you? Level five is the win win or nobody wins. Level six is we always win. And level seven is winning and losing is an illusion. And those are the seven levels of perspective energy. We all have these seven levels within us. We have a primary and a secondary. And these levels are broken down into two perspectives. You on a good day and you on a not so good day. And so those are the seven levels of energy. I want to wait for your question before I go into it a little more.
Okay. So I'm reflecting on what I perceive to be my own personality. So I'm gonna go with the one that said I win, serve. Which
Okay,
one?
well, let me just say this isn't a personality, it's a
Okay.
perspective.
A
It's the way
perspective.
you see yourself in the world,
Okay.
right? So we all have so level one energy is victim energy.
Mm-hmm.
Level two is that conflict energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say with level one energy, I lose, level two is you lose. Level three is I win. If you win too, great.
Mm-hmm.
Level four is you win. How can I serve you? How can I help you? Level five is the win win or nobody wins. And level six is we always win. And seven is winning and losing is an illusion. And so we all have a primary energy level that we use every day. So when you wake up, and I don't know what that is because I haven't assessed you yet, we all have a primary lens we lose. So what do you lead with? There's so many people who have so much level one energy, right? And level
Really?
one energy is normally associated with the amount of self-doubt, worry, guilt, shame that you have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Level two energy is associated with the amount of like resentment and frustration and anger you have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Level three is associated with how much you rationalize, tolerate, and justify the things you do in your life. Um, four is more about compassion and serving. Um, and five is more like level of fulfillment, reconciliation, and understanding of the world. Six is where you start getting into like joy and wisdom. And seven is absolute power and passion.
Mm.
And so it's, yeah, it's not something that's so easy to just break down and explain because there's levels to it, seven of them, but it's about how you attach yourself to the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about the energy leadership index assessment, that assessment breaks down how much of each level you have in your life and how much it's serving you or not serving you.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can automatically look at level one as being bad. Oh my God, level one is bad. Seven must be great. We all, each one of them have an advantage and disadvantage to
Mm-hmm.
them. It's just about how self-aware you are in life that you're showing up with that lens or
Mm-hmm.
level, right? And is it serving you? Sometimes we need a little level two energy because that's protection,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes we don't stand up or protect ourselves. But if you constantly have to come from a place of conflict, how's that serving you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because each level is associated with an amount of stress or that catabolic energy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
level one is the highest level of stress, the energy that tears you down. Level two also has a tremendous amount of high level catabolic energy that just tears you down. When you get into three, you start to get a mixed bag where you can start, having some of that antibiotic energy, right? That
Mm-hmm.
builds you up. So if one and two tears you down, three is where you kind of have that mixed bag where it's like All right. That's what I said. If I win, if you win too, fine. But when you start getting to 4, 5, 6, and 7, that's that building up energy. So people will automatically think, well, if I have level 4 energy, then I'm great, right? And I'm like,
Mm,
well, how's it serving you? Because sometimes your level 4 energy can be attached to the amount of validation and that you need in your life. And that may not
mm,
be serving you.
true,
Sometimes you can have your level 4 can have you putting everybody and everything first and not saving enough for you.
true.
So they all have their advantages and disadvantages. The point of the Energy Leadership Index assessment is for you to understand how those levels are working for or against you in your life. And it's your unique, almost like your blueprint or framework to how you show up and perform in various aspects in your life. Everyone can benefit from doing an assessment like that because it's not based on personality. It's based on perception of how you see yourself and how you live and experience the world.
Okay.
And it's probably outside of my amazing personality to motivate people, the most powerful tool I have in my toolbox.
Awesome. And listening to you break it down, um, I'm getting the impression that as we go through our seasons in life, you might be leaning more towards one level and kind of outgrow that one. And now that I'm older, I might be this one. Can it work that
Oh,
way?
oh, they can absolutely shift,
Okay.
right? Because that's what that awareness brings you, right? When you're emotionally intelligent, you realize, wow, as a mom, I have so much level 2 energy. How's that serving you? How's that serving your children? How's that
Mm,
serving your family? Right. And so, yes, the more aware you are with that as well is it'll determine, basically you get to start to use the levels to your advantage, the more aware you are that they exist.
mhm,
Because, like I said, there are advantages and disadvantages. Even level 1, right, which is the lowest vibration of, or the highest calibalic or conflict kind of, or stress, excuse me, energy. When you have a certain levels of level 1 energy, it does allow people to help you and let people in. Sometimes when you can't see a way out, you ask for help. But if
mhm.
you always have level 2 energy, you need help. Nope, I'm good. Which is that 2-3, right? Nope, get away. It's 2-3. And 3 would be I'm fine. So
Okay.
you can also connect what levels you're using by the language you use. If you walk around all the time saying I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm good, that's a lot of level 3
That's
energy.
the Black woman's credo there.
I'm fine, I'm good, I could do it. You know, okay. And I'm not gonna tell you you can't. It's about making people more self-aware so that they can decide how to use or when they're using it
Mhm,
and if it's serving them or not serving them.
mhm.
As a coach who is a master practitioner and certified to administer this assessment, I don't tell people what they should or shouldn't do with the information. I help them see that it's there, and then I can facilitate and create opportunities for them to change the outcomes they want
Mhm.
and to, maybe eliminate some of that level 2 energy, and sometimes it maybe take just to get them to have a level 3 perspective. Sometimes you just got to be okay because sometimes, that level 2 energy can be so damaging, can be so much resentment, so much anger. And then you can wear it like a badge of honor. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So that level 2 energy is not just going to show up in how you feel about your coworker. Oh no, when you go
Mm,
home, somebody gonna feel that level 2 energy. And you
mhm,
may think to yourself, it's okay, but it's at a cost.
mhm.
So it's always interested in, that there's other perspectives, right? Life can be hard, but but stress is a choice. Excuse me,
That
right? I
part,
always say that life
that
can be
part,
hard, life can be difficult, but stress is a choice.
that part.
And for you to be able to, control your levels of stress, you have to first be more self aware of how you're showing up
Mhm.
in these various aspects of your life and what opportunities do you have to create the outcome you want.
So
And so
important.
this assessment first gives you that self-awareness to say, hey, you got like X amount of level 2 energy. And the
Mhm.
assessment would also tell you how it's showing up, right? Not that you have it, right? Because if it says you have like 25%, level 2 energy, the
Okay.
assessment will also tell you, you know, how you're showing up and using that energy.
Wow.
It's a very powerful tool.
Wow. okay,
Hmm.
we might have to take this.
You know,
So,
maybe you tell it, you know, I'll give you one example. It's like maybe you have, you know, this story that if I don't protect myself, you know, or everybody's out to get me, right? It can be that kind of energy. My level two energy says if I show compassion, people are gonna take advantage of me. So I gotta be hard all the time.
mm-hmm,
That's level two energy. I have to be hard all the time.
mm-hmm,
Sometimes, you know, somebody does something wrong to you, and now you can't trust anybody because of something that happened previously. That's
mm-hmm.
another form of level two energy. I got to protect myself so no one takes advantage of me. And that's why what's powerful about the IPEC program is it taught me that the opportunity isn't in coaching the story, but coaching the energy because we're a constant interplay between our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And
Mm-hmm.
we're gifted storytellers. And the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves every single day.
Every day.
But what is the truth or the advantage or disadvantages of those stories? And I'm kind of being trying not to give away all the secrets
Yeah.
because you know why? Because there's nothing generic about it. It's
Mhm.
so personalized that it's sometimes hard for me to create hypotheticals, but I can associate behaviors and words because words are strong, but actions are powerful. So a
Gotcha.
lot of things associated with like level one energy is, you know, I don't have a choice. What can I do? You know,
Mm-hmm.
things associated with level two is, you know, it's like resentment, anger. I'm mad. Level three is I'm fine. I'm good. Things like that. Mm-hmm.
Now, listening to this, and I'm just, my mind is kind of exploding here because I've had conversations with different people throughout the years where I might have not been able to word it the way it's
Mm-hmm.
explained there. But the problem, once you explain, or somebody does the assessment and they're presented with, okay, this is how you are, this is why you behave the way you are. Sometimes we get this pushback. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, how do you get somebody to say, okay, I need to make the shift, I need to make the change, because a lot of people who are walking around, um, I want to win all the time, they don't want to stop that mentality that makes them think that, I just, I don't know, I think it would be difficult.
Well, it comes down to this. Again, I don't tell people what they should or
Yeah,
shouldn't do.
yeah.
I can simplify it like this. The assessment makes you more self-aware that you're showing up in various aspects of your life. It's for you to decide if it's serving you because you're aware
Mm-hmm.
or it's the default because you didn't know any other choice, right? Because these lenses and filters that will basically influence our perception of ourselves, they come from the constructs we grew up in. It's from
Mm-hmm.
the people, the places, and things around us.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many, many aspects of that that have served us tremendously. But there's also pieces of that that might be creating some limitations or stress that aren't serving us.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know another way, you don't have the choice to choose another way.
Mm-hmm.
The assessment helps you put the way you've been doing things, feeling things, and experiencing things into a clear framework of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's for you to decide what to do with that information.
True.
I've worked with people that say, I'm afraid to stop doing things this way because I've achieved X amount of goals.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
You know, my what I do is help bring the awareness, but I don't control the outcome.
Mhm. So you
Right.
bring self awareness, and it's up to the person to decide if they want to now become self aware with the self awareness tool that they actually have.
I've gotten to stay in that level of transparency with you and really, you know, there were pushback. Some of the biggest pushback I've gotten are a lot of very spiritual, faith driven people,
Mm-hmm.
right? The assessment will tell me if your connection to your faith is serving you or not serving you.
Mm-hmm.
And I can make that aware. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not afraid to say that out loud. That has been some of the hardest things because when I do the debrief, right? Because ultimately what happens is you receive the assessment, you answer the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Once you answer the questions, then the assessment is sent back to me. I then have to go over it, write up a debrief, and then we do a debrief session. I'm able to see within that within, writing up your debrief, oh, this person's a very spiritual person. It's tripping them. I can tell. And I've had times where I was afraid because of the pushback to tell somebody, like, because I can see it. I'm trained to see the patterns and connections of how you answer the questions. And I'm able to see through this assessment the level of spirituality or religious connection someone has, and if it's serving them or not serving them. And there's been times where I'm like, broke that down, and it's huge pushback. I will never walk away from my relationship with Christ. And these are people who don't know my relationship and my story per se. And sometimes I question, are they going to think I'm being biased? And I struggle with that. But then I had to let that go and say, look, this is the information. I'm not tied to the outcome, because it doesn't mean that your faith can't serve you. I'm just helping you be more self-aware that it's not. And maybe that's the story you attach to it, right? We often say, things happen for a reason, right? And for me, I offer the opportunity for people to understand things happen and there are reasons. Some of the most faith-driven people use so much hope, but hope can be an emotional painkiller. And what do we know about painkillers, right? They alleviate and they take away pain, but they don't heal. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people are just so driven by hope that they don't have enough action. That's where they default on, I didn't get the, what are you going to do? I'm not worried about it. God's going to make a way. And I'm like, well, how interested are you in seeing what opportunities are here before
Faith
you?
without works is dead, sir.
Okay. I mean, right? And so the most of the pushback I've gotten is, a lot of within the, a lot of faith-driven people. And people are always surprised about how much level 1 and level 2 energy they have, because no one wants to feel like they have victim energy. And that's just how we summarize it. It's victim energy because the person believes that the situation is outside of their control of influence. And so there's absolutely, but I've had very little pushback.
I was thinking, I wasn't even thinking the spiritual aspect. What came to mind was a narcissist. And I was thinking maybe, they wouldn't want to hear about them based on some of these.
Well, the beautiful thing also about this assessment is it's what they told me. You answered the questions, right?
Wonderful.
You answered the questions. Even within itself is like, I'm wonderful. Is that a question or a statement? When you ask me that, are you trying to convince me or convince yourself? Right?
That would be, I'm trying to convince myself, right?
A lot of times people are trying to convince themselves, I'm good. But how interested are you in actually feeling good?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of having that be the story or the hype speech you give yourself. Okay. And that would be the difference between self-help and self-improvement, right? Yeah. Self-help tells you that just, you're good, you're great. Get out there, you're a monster, you're a beast, you can do it. That speech within itself can be exhausting. I say, well, how interested are you in exploring the things that make you not feel great or make you feel like you need that hype speech? It has a purpose. It serves us. But how many times, but sometimes we're all in on that and it's not serving us.
We need to unpack all parts and pieces, all parts.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
So yeah. No, I'm saying, so yeah, there's been pushback, but in the spirit of this conversation, a lot of it has come from the amount of level 1 energy people have and people's relationship with their faith.
That's interesting. Now I'm gonna have to do my assessment now because I'm curious now.
Oh, we'll talk about that. We can get it done. We can get it done.
I like to think I'm resting somewhere around 4.
There's assessments for everybody. If you want it, and I'm just going to give a little fun fact. It's on Forbes, number 3 on Forbes list of must do assessments for people in management or leadership positions. Okay. And so there's a lot of opportunity because it does also help you figure out how to be a better leader. Okay. By being able to identify things within, your organization or the people you work for. So it's a very powerful tool that I'm grateful to be certified and hold the title of master practitioner.
awesome. I was not expecting that. That was I didn't know it was that detailed and that in depth. So that's impressive. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that.
We'll talk about it. We can get you in.
I'm at a 4. I'm naming and claiming it now. I'm naming and claiming it. I'm a 4. I'm a 4.
Well, maybe you don't want to be a 4. Maybe in your life 4 is not serving you. So we'll see. We'll get into it. I'm just glad you didn't say I'm 7.
No, I mean,
I'm joking because
no.
a
I
lot
would
of
like
times
to
with
think. Go
no,
ahead.
because a lot of times, and even while I was in school and we started learning about these 7 levels of energy, because I'd say a huge part, most of my education is in understanding these levels and the ability to assess and debrief um the energy leadership index assessment. And I remember while I was in school, people would say, "Oh, after that conversation, I'm level 6 now," and I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that.
I done
I'm
moved on.
I'm like, unless I'm not paying attention, pretty sure that's not what they meant. I'm level 6 now. I'm like, okay, well, congratulations. I don't know how you got that from that conversation,
I'm
but
just giving myself a
I'm
certificate. I
just
have
giving
moved
myself a
up.
6.
Moving on up.
I felt the jolt. I felt the change. Oh, that was inspirational. I'm 6 now. I'm like, congratulations. I'm not. Who am I to say it wasn't? Who am I to say? Um, so yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me wrap this up because we can talk for a while. I got sidetracked by the 7 levels there. That was very powerful.
Mhm,
I do want to ask you because I see there, you and I saw it on the website. You have a product line there. I am selfish,
mhm,
and especially for those because we talked about the spiritual background. Both of us in the
mhm,
Black community, we are taught not to be selfish. We're
mhm.
taught to. So, could you explain the message in your product?
Well, first of all, I am self-ish is why there's a dash
Mm-hmm.
in the way it's presented is I am selfish is a daily affirmation. It's a movement. It's the understanding that you have, the right or to give yourself permission to prioritize yourself, right? And
Mm.
so it's a play on, self-care, self-rejuvenation, self-motivation, self-improvement. So it's okay to be selfish.
Mm.
Because so many of us create stories, even as parents, right? Sometimes we think when the day we became parents, our life ended and this new life begun. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's what you think. So I am selfish is just that movement. It's a daily
Mm.
reminder to give yourself permission to prioritize yourself.
Mm.
You know, we, as long as I've been alive, for many, many years of my life, it was always that treat others the way you want to be treated. As a coach, I offer people the opportunity to say, well, what would it look like if you treated yourself the way you wanted to be treated? Because when you do that, then you're setting that parameter. You're setting those boundaries.
Mm.
A lot of times when we try to treat others the way we want to be treated, we just never get that level of reciprocation or validation. It can be exhausting and frustrating.
Yes.
And the greatest way, but if you treat yourself the way you want to be treated, that's a form of being selfish.
There you go. I always like that example of when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant says, "Put your mask on first before you put
Mm-hmm,
the mask on." But you got to take care
mm-hmm.
of you, and you can't look out for other people without taking care of yourself first. So.
So when you say I am selfish, it's you're reminding yourself that you matter
Mm-hmm.
and that you're important. So it's a
Okay.
daily affirmation. It's a reminder that you are important and you can put yourself first. And it doesn't mean that you don't love the people around you, that you're not a good mom or a good dad. The best version of you can only be better for everyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
be selfish with the dash. It's
With
important.
the
Without the dash,
dash.
I don't want to talk to you. You're just being mean. Got to put that ish in it.
One of these, what selfish would be, what level 2?
Being selfish, like, well, it just depends. Like,
Yeah.
selfish with if I was to put my brand
Without the
selfish
dash. No, no,
within
no.
the
Without the dash. Without
without
the
the
dash.
dash, it depends. It's relative,
Okay.
right? I can't say just because someone's being selfish. It depends. But if you're going to say it, I don't know.
Mm.
I would say it would be more a level 2
Mhm.
because it's I win.
I win. Okay.
But with the dash, it's more of a level 6 because it's the idea that we all, it will be
Win.
5, 6, right? Because we'll be in, if we, well, it'll be 6.
Yeah.
And it's funny. No, I've never even thought about my brand within these levels. And I'm sure some of my coaching colleagues that are hearing this would be like, it's 6, Will, or even 7. It's only 5 if everyone wins. And maybe everyone doesn't win. You can't decide someone wins because they put your t-shirt on. But the idea behind it would be, you know, doing you. So yeah, it'll be interesting because it also, the reason why I'm reluctant to automatically, as I'm thinking about it, associate my brand with any one of the levels, because my idea of selfish is about compassion towards myself. Your
Mhm.
idea of selfish could be get out of my way, I'm gonna do me. That's
Mhm.
two. So
Mhm.
it's all in how you process what I am selfish is for you. But at its conception, it's just a daily reminder that you can prioritize yourself and put
Mhm.
yourself first. It's about creating that level of self-care for yourself. Some people can be nasty about their self-care.
Mhm.
I'm compassionate about it, but inherently it is about me.
If
And
I
that's
don't take
okay.
care of me, I'm not going to
But
be able to
that's
take care of
okay.
you.
So
Yeah.
that's why, but I never ever until now thought about my brand. If someone said, well, what level is that? I'm like, that's all relative. It's
Mhm.
all in your mindset and your perspective of what I am selfish means to you.
Mhm.
Because maybe you're going to forget the dash. I don't know. But please keep buying t-shirts and hats. I don't, do whatever you want with them once you buy them.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. So, are you still doing the personal, the fitness training?
Yes, I still have, if I want to break into it, it's just a flow. Sometimes I feel like I have more coaching clients, but fitness is the most consistent thing I do only because the engagement with coaching, and I'm going to say this, and as a matter of fact, if you're a good coach, you don't have clients for very long,
Oh, okay.
right? Because we're not therapists.
Mhm.
But in the spirit of respecting the whole entire coaching field, my style of coaching empowers people to, set a goal, hit a goal. So for my coaching, my engagements will probably be about 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
My coaching clients, I mean, my training clients, I may have them 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I have people that have been with me up to 18 years still going
Mm.
strong. But yeah, so it's about 70% coaching, 30% training.
Well, let me ask and see if there's any crossover. So, what do you do in the fitness with the fitness hat on when you have a client who says, Coach Wright, I know you told me to do 30 push-ups, but look, I'm only gonna give you 10 today. That's all I got. That's all I got
What do I say?
to,
Okay.
to coach them. So we
You
don't
only got
push.
30 push-ups? Okay, that's it. Then do your 30 push-ups.
See, I have to get over on you. Like, look,
Mm-mm.
I,
I am
I'm
a
gonna do
facilitator to
this.
goals. You only can get over yourself. I'm not a dictator. I'm a facilitator. We assess and we create goals, right?
I know you
So,
told me to get on this treadmill for 45 minutes. I only feel like 10. I don't know, that's all I want to
okay,
do.
then I will help you be aware. So when you say I'm not reaching my goals, I'm not feeling better, I'm not performing better, I'm not looking better, the first thing as a coach, because I'm a coach always, whether I'm
Mm-hmm.
fitness or, straight up coaching or doing the assessment, I'm a coach all the time. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
personal development coach. I will always look at what you're not doing first, right? So if you say, oh, I know you told me to run 3 miles, which I would never tell you to run 3 miles. Who wants to run 3 miles? What are you doing? Training the who does that? But if you want to run 3 miles, I can help you figure out how to get the physical, mental abilities to run 3 miles. But if you don't run the 3 miles, I'm not going to be like, why are you not running the 3 miles? I'll say, okay, then that's not your goal. That's not your plan. I'm just a facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a dictator.
Throw the
So you
ball
can't get
back to
over
me.
on me. You're only getting over on yourself,
That's true. That's
you
true.
know,
But it feels good. It feels good.
but I'm a good motivator. So
Mhm.
If you want to run them 3 miles, we'll get you there. Or we'll get to the point you realize there's no conceivable reason why I should be running 3 miles. I hate running 3 miles. Can we do something else? And I'll say, absolutely, we can do something else.
Let me ask you my random question, and then I'm gonna ask you to tell us how we connect with you.
Okay.
You can coach clients virtually as well if they're not in New York, because you're in New York. Right?
Yeah, I coach people all around the world because I'm virtual.
Okay. What's one item on your bucket list?
One item on my bucket list. Ooh, let me think. One item on my bucket list is to go to Croatia.
Wow.
It's a show I watch called Below Deck. If you haven't watched it, it's good. Mediterranean. It's one of my guilty pleasure shows. And there's a lot of seasons where, they went to Croatia, and it just looks like a place I'd like to be.
Okay. All righty. So we're gonna have to book some clients so we can get you there. So you also do corporate training and all of that. So please tell us how we connect with you and get you to give us the 7 levels assessment and much more.
Okay, so you can contact me through my website, which is, CoreRemastered.com. You can also find me on my Instagram, CoreRemastered. And it's not Corey, it's Core, CORE, remastered.com will be the best way to get me. Go to my website, contact me through there. You can also email me at will@coreremastered.com.
And did I see you two will have a podcast coming, or is it already there? Or
so the podcast will be coming out next month. And so I can't wait to have you on my podcast. And the name of my podcast is called I Am Selfish.
Okay. All right. That would be my pleasure. I want to do my assessment first, and then I'll come on there.
All right. Well, I'll contact you, off, when we're done with this. I was going to say off camera.
I might have to go pout for a while after I do assessment.
And again, everyone can benefit from doing it, because it really helps you understand how you see yourself in the world.
Okay.
And again, I'm grateful and honored to be able to administer such a powerful tool, which just reinforced some of the things that I was already capable of doing for my clients. But I'm grateful that I have that education and that tool as a way to take people to a different level that I couldn't take them to before, because I didn't have that education. And so that's why I'm grateful to be certified in the modality and, education that I have. So, yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure your clients tell you that they appreciate you, even on the fitness side when you're telling them to do 10 more. I'm pretty sure that you hear that enough. But, from little old me, I just want to, let you know that I appreciate, how you're empowering people, impacting their lives, probably to getting them to understand pieces that they had really just dug deep. I just appreciate you for the work that you've committed yourself to. And I think it's truly special. And I thank you for giving me your time today.
I'm so grateful and honored to have had this time with you. It feels like it's the start of a beautiful relationship and friendship. So yeah. So I look forward to, taking this a step further. Yeah.
Beautiful. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.